Do you have a credit card or maybe more than one credit card? Perhaps maybe a MasterCard, a Visa, an American Express. Is this credit card directly through the credit card company, or perhaps maybe it's from your bank, Bank of America, Citibank, Chase, Wells Fargo, Truist? Do you carry a balance on this credit card? Have you been using this credit card more often? Not necessarily so much for emergencies, but just for day-to-day purchases to try to get by. As paychecks are dwindling, interest rates are going up, inflation is destroying the average middle class, working class American, and everything just continues to cost more and more. Well, if you do, you're not going to want to miss this video because I have some very, very important and money saving information that could potentially help you and your family pay less on these monthly minimum payments and help you pay off your credit card balances faster, ultimately reducing the amount of interest that you owe and are paying that's going out of your paychecks every single week and every single month with these credit card payments. So you guys stick around and pay attention. So now is a time where many American families are struggling to make ends meet and survive the daily struggles of just affording life's necessities. And unfortunately, more and more families are leaning more towards and leaning on credit cards to get them out of these jams on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, especially as their income is at risk and their savings is being rapidly depleted from the effects of inflation and higher prices across the board when it comes to food, water, shelter, gas, diesel. Everything is becoming more and more expensive. Most recent CPI inflation report shows that inflation is still holding strong, and ultimately the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell, Federal Reserve Chair, is going to have to increase interest rates yet again, more than likely expecting to see another 75 basis point increase to try to get inflation under control. Now, that being said, this is going to have a huge impact negatively on borrowing money, particularly and most importantly on credit cards. As I said, families are looking to credit cards to bail them out of these jams, and their savings are being depleted. And although Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell may say that Americans are flush with cash and sitting on tons of money in savings from old stimulus checks, we know that that's just not true. And a lot of questions come up often. I get asked in comments and emails and direct messages and members from the group wanting to know, Kevin, what can I do? What can my family do to try to weather this storm? Do you have any recommendations for a credit card or a low interest credit card, or improving my credit to get approved for loans and different ways to help my family fight this battle of inflation and try to keep our heads above water, as we are already currently living paycheck to paycheck, one paycheck away from being homeless and possibly thrown out on the streets, desperately in need of a solution rapidly that is sustainable, as we realistically can expect to see this problem last for quite some time. And fortunately, there is some reprieve. As I often get asked, Kevin, what do you recommend? Banks, credit unions? Is my money safe? But honestly, right now, for the most part, a lot of people don't have much money to keep safe, as they are struggling to keep up with rising costs that they're experiencing every single day. But I did come across something that a lot of folks may actually be able to find very helpful and very useful to them and their families during these times. And I've received word that this has actually been approved and accepted on multiple different occasions by different people who have contacted their credit unions. So in this instance, yes, credit unions are a great resource, as they typically are, as credit unions are typically created with the sole purpose of the members in mind, and ultimately trying to make it less expensive for members to have access to funds and borrow and have a safe banking experience that isn't misguided or misdirected or buried by profit, much like traditional banks. Now, although interest rates are still going up, credit unions will probably be the least expensive option when it comes to lending, as they typically don't mark up their interest rates on top of what the Fed is already raising and hiking interest rates to that we'll more than likely continue to see for the next couple years, honestly, as they aim to get this target inflation number down to the 2% annual inflation rate, which we are well above. That doesn't even include the volatile components and commodities of food and fuel and energy, which we all know is well above the 8.2% that they're claiming for September. Now, November 1st, November 2nd, we're going to see what Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve end up doing with the next interest rate hike. But in the meantime, you can potentially try to save some money and lower interest rates through what is called an APR reduction. And this is ultimately what can be requested, from my understanding, from a credit union, in fact, Navy Federal Credit Union. And if you have, it's what I've been told, if you have a credit card with Navy Federal Credit Union that is over 1 year old, as far as the time at which you actually opened and established this credit line and this credit account, which, if you're not sure, you can check your credit through Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, Credit Karma, if you really wanted to see when the account was opened. But at the end of the day, an APR reduction is something that you can call your credit union and ask for. Now, you may also be able to call your credit card companies and your bank. So don't just limit it to the credit union. If you've got a credit card carrying a balance, and even if it's less than a year old, I would probably still make the call, send the email, start the chat, and at least ask the question, because it never hurts to try and save money, especially now. And that money is ultimately being lost every single day with compounded interest on the purchases and balances you carry on these credit cards. So with that being said, it has been brought to my attention that Navy Federal Credit Union allows its members to call and ask for an APR reduction on credit cards that are over a year old. And yes, there are some limitations in how often this can be done, and the amount of the APR reduction will vary. But this could be a huge difference in bringing your credit card APRs down from crazy high 19%, 18%, 17%, who knows, maybe more, maybe less, but ultimately bringing those APRs and those interest rates down, making it easier for you to repay those debts and less expensive for you to carry these balances month to month. If you've done this already, have any experience with this APR reduction, please comment below and share for the community, for the family, so that others can be aware of how it worked, or maybe some strategies or banks or credit unions or credit card companies that they could call and ask for the same. And if you haven't, I encourage you to give it a shot and then come back and report and let us know how it goes, what you find out, what happens, and if it helps you and your family or not. Odds are, if you can get the APR reduction, it's going to be helpful to anybody's budget to spend less money on interest, especially now as interest rates are continuously going up, and up. With that being said, I'll make sure to bring you guys another update as soon as possible. Make sure you check out this video and watch the playlist. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on notifications. You guys take care. Be safe. I'll see you real soon. Bye.